Athletes, welcome to the locker room with Coach Blue. Today we're going to talk about something that's kind of difficult for most people to wrap their heads around, specifically if you have a loved one who's struggling with any kind of addiction. And that is, how do you show the correct amount of empathy for someone that's really kind of emotionally hurt you? Well, let's look at it this way. Have you ever climbed up a mountain and when you start at the base of that mountain, you can't really see much? There's a forest in the way, you're down low, but as you climb that mountain, your perspective begins to change. You're able to see more, you're able to experience the bigger picture. And although things get smaller, your field of vision expands greatly. Well, you have a different perspective. It's a lot like life, right? Down here, you're gonna have this much experience and this much perspective, but as you go up higher and as you increase, your field of view and your understanding is going to grow immensely. So think about it this way. Have you ever thought about how much control you really have over your own emotions? Say like when you see a picture, maybe you watch a movie, do you think you can choose to be overwhelmed, fearful, or maybe even emotional to the point where it brings tears? Or is that emotion, is that experience automatic? It might seem completely crazy to understand the principle that you really are in control of a lot of these emotions. And although they may hit you unexpectedly or maybe even blindside you, you do have the ability to emotionally regulate how much you let it in and how it affects you. To say that you're at the mercy of the circumstance to allow a certain situation or person to bother you is saying that you don't have a lot of choice in the matter, but you absolutely do. What do you do right before a race, right before an event? Start to psych yourself out. It's like the butterflies going, right? And although some of those might not be an automatic response that you want to indulge in, you can use that emotional energy to shift and to create power, to create fear, to create anxiety, right? You can use it how you want it. Emotional intelligence will allow you to do this when you start getting very in tune. So let's look at this thing called empathy, right? The key message that I really want to get through to you is that you can develop a really strong sense of empathy by shifting your perspective. And in a way, by choosing how you really want to feel in any given situation or circumstance. See, this is kind of the interesting thing. Do we allow stuff to bother us simply because we should be upset at it or because we're really being emotionally scarred by it? This is kind of an interesting paradigm we get ourselves situated in, because really how we view it and what it means to us individually determines how much emotional energy or congruence we're going to give to it. One really amazing way to get through all these experiences, specifically in terms of empathy, is to use what I call emotional nudges, making small changes in behaviors that can lead to big changes of behavior a little on down the road. So in aspects of this, maybe you have a loved one that is struggling with addiction and has for a long time. Maybe your empathy barometer has gone way down because really you've been burnt out and lied to so many times. But take a step back, look at it from a different point of view. Maybe look at it from their understanding, that maybe there's some desire to want to change, but there's fear and anxiety, specifically in the world of addiction, because I learned to be able to differentiate behaviors from feelings and thoughts. This is kind of a crazy thing. See, most people will catch a loved one drinking or maybe viewing pornography or something of that nature, and they'll automatically look at that behavior as sinful and wrong and bad. But in actuality, what we need to do is look at it through the lenses of what is this person trying to cover up? What pain have they experienced? What emotional disconnect do they must have that's allowing them to justify this behavior? And once we start looking at the residual effects and start taking away the behaviors away from the person, we can start getting to the core issues, the things that are driving this addiction. Maybe it's the fear of abandonment, maybe it's the fear of neglect, maybe it's a multitude of things, but it's not the behaviors that we're looking at. Simple desires to change aren't enough. You've seen that, thus your empathy level has gone way down. But take yourself out of that situation, put yourself back into a mindset of what is this person lacking? What pain are they going through? And then be able to kind of give a more balanced, and then be able to give a better approach to what is the core reason this person's using. Not only does empathy feel good when it's coming from someone or when you're able to offer it to someone, but it comes with so many potential benefits for health, emotionally and physically. Choosing to be empathetic rather than harsh or abusive or abrasive is going to be able to allow that relationship that you want to reestablish just to thrive again. And there's evidence that it's very important that we can kill emotional pain through kindness. Don't let your kindness be turned into weakness, but allow the empathy to take a step out of the shadows and to see the bigger picture in a different point of view. Athletes, when we gain that different perspective, when we're able to use empathy correctly, it definitely helps individuals turn that mess of addiction into a very powerful message.